Hey everybody, it's Josh Mall, the voice for swimming pool science. Good evening. Thank you for joining us, viewers. This is the Your Questions Answered video, and I want chocolate chip cookies. So if you don't mind, I'm going to multitask a little bit, put together some chocolate chip cookies, and answer your questions that you guys have posted up on the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for this, guys. Let's get started. All right, our first question comes from Ross Sherwood. Great video. I'm thinking about putting a barrier on the surface of the water to prevent floating debris from entering the skimmer. The reason for this is that I'm away from the property and only have a pool guy come once a week. I want to keep the skimmer basket clean so it doesn't burn out the pump. Water could still enter the skimmer, but floating leaves would be kept out. Do you think this is feasible? Russ, I've got to say, I don't think this is the greatest idea in the world. You do have your pool guy coming once a week, and frankly, he should be able to keep it up. There's some things you can do. You can cut the trees back a little bit. You can get a basket that actually allows for water to flow even when the skimmer is full of debris. And I'll actually put a link for one of those baskets in the description of this video if you guys want to check that out. They're pretty neat and they work really well. So Russ, I don't think it's a good idea to prevent debris from going into your skimmer. It's just going to make a mess of your pool and keep it in there and it won't be contained. So I would explore some different creative ways of not doing that, coming up with some different alternatives, maybe having the pool guy come twice a week. All right, next question coming from Infinite Magnetic Residence. Hello and thanks for the info. I just installed the 011028 Pentair IntelliFlow pump, which that's the old style Pentair VST. I'm guessing that Infinite Magnetic Resonance found this at a discounted price on Amazon or somewhere like that. And he says, there's no way to set gallons per minute mode, which I was pretty stoked about being able to do. The instructions that came with it were dated 2018, and the control panel is just as described. It just won't scroll into GPM auction. Just speeds 1 through 8. In the video, you said something about older models being like this. I assume it was one with a different panel. Did Pentair change the programming? Do you have an answer? Thanks in advance. Yep, I do. With the 011028 pump, that's the older model. That's just the VST, which is the variable speed trade grade pump. And it only does speeds, not gallons per minute. Something that's important here, guys, is you are gonna see those cheap pumps online. Those are gonna be older discontinued models. Those are only gonna have a 60-day warranty because they're bought online. So Pentair and Jandy and even Hayward are really clamping down on those online discount sales. If you do want that latest pump, man, you gotta call your local pool guy. You can call me for advice or shoot me a note and I can kind of help you make sure you get the correct pump, because that is one you don't want to miss out on. And you don't want to miss out on that 2-year warranty that comes when you have it installed by a professional versus if you buy it yourself online and then have somebody install it, and God forbid, in the rare case where something does go wrong with that pump and it's out of warranty after just 60 days, you are SOL, my friends. So do your part and contact your local pool guy for the proper variable speed pump for you with all the warranties and all the good stuff. It is worth paying those extra few bucks to get that. All right, on to our next question. Stealth7G asks, helpful video. One of my returns is blowing bubbles. You'd think it was a jacuzzi. I tried a smoke test around the pump and plumbing, but I saw no clear sign of where it's drawing air. So Stealth, chances are you're drawing air from one of these places, either from your pump lid O-ring, could be on a 3-way valve if there's one or more of those on the suction side of your system, could be even from an inlet nipple. So you need to check around that inlet nipple and make sure that you're not drawing any air there. One of the other great ways to check for leaks on the suction side is to get a expandable hose flush bag that not only acts like a plug but actually forces water through plumbing. You'll find them at Home Depot, and they're great for clearing out sewer lines. But what you can do is you can pressurize the whole suction manifold of your pump and see where the water leaks out, and that is going to be a dead giveaway where your leak is. If you don't find it above ground, then you may need to call out leak detection because you may have an underground crack somewhere. So fingers crossed it's not that. Next question coming from Jim Younger, and I'm guessing this is from our sand filter hacks video. It says, you say you can add DE right to the sand filter through the skimmer? I like that idea, but how often? Is there a long-term cumulative effect? Yeah, so Jim, that's something you want to be careful of, because remember, We sometimes call that a DE cheat, and what we're doing is we're adding a thin layer of DE to the top of the sand bed on the filter that will pick up an extra particle. A dirty filter will do the same exact thing. So if you go a little bit longer between backwashes, you can get that same effect because the dirt will actually help filter out finer particles out of your system. But if you are adding DE from time to time, you really got to watch that pressure. You got to be careful. You got to do a thorough backwash, and even do a manual backwash from time to time. If you guys haven't seen our video on sand filter hacks, I will go ahead and post that right here, right now, and you guys can click on that, and that'll tell you a little more. But we don't add much DE. We're talking, you know, on a DE filter, you might add 6 or 7 or 8 pounds or even 5 pounds, depending on the size of your filter. You're talking on a 300-pound sand filter, you know, a ½ pound to 1 pound, and that's it. Too much, and you're going to drive the pressure up. You're going to slow your circulation down, and then you're going to suffer other problems. So, yes, you can add DE to a sand filter, and yes, you must be careful when doing it and pay close attention. And yes, you will get slightly clearer water if you do it. Next question comes from Luis out of Glendale, Arizona. Hey, thanks for this very helpful video you posted. I live in Glendale by 75th Avenue in Deer Valley. I just got a Pentair IntelliFlow pump installed. I was wondering, does the old timer need to be connected to this new pump? It seems redundant to me, but I don't know. Also, I've noticed you didn't like using programs 1 through 5. Does this mean the pump will run on the default times of those programs? Thank you for taking the time to make this video. Well, thank you for watching, Luis. I really appreciate it. So the deal is out of the box from the factory, none of the programs come programmed. So if you plug that pump in out of the box, you don't do any programming into it, you hit the start stop button, it activates on, guess what? It's not going to do anything because nothing's programmed in. Personally, I like to use programs 5 and 6 to do my scheduled run times. That's just what I do. You can use any one you want. I like to use programs 1 through 4 to do like egg timers and stuff, because then I can actually use the one-touch buttons and things like that. It makes it really simple and easy. We want to make sure that we get in and we do that programming. And of course, my video for programming the Pentair variable speed pumps is going to be right here, so you can go ahead and click on that if you want to know more. As far as the time clock goes, the variable speed pump should not be connected to the load side of the time clock. And what I mean by that is that's the switched side. We want the variable speed pump to have power all the time. We don't want some other clock cutting the power to it. It's not designed for that. That will cause it to alarm out. It will think that there's a power outage or something like that. And over time, that can be hard on the electronics. So that needs to be hardwired in, either completely bypassing the time clock, or it needs to go in on the line side of the time clock, meaning that we're connecting the wires where the power comes into the time clock like that, instead of having it on the switch side like that. So we want if we're going to connect into our time clock, we're essentially using the time clock as a junction box. Instead of connecting it to the switch side like an old pump would be, it needs to be connected to the load or the line side of the time clock. All right, next question. This is from the How to Backwash a DE Filter video. This one kind of cracks me up, but you know, if you guys watch my videos and you're regulars, you know I like to add a little bit of, you know, kind of dry humor, things like that. And so the question from Trish L states, obviously the skimmer basket is dumped into the pool was for convenience sake in making the video. And if you have a proper weir door on the skimmer and diverter valve, it's no big deal. Someone's been watching our skimmer video. It will just float right back in as soon as the pump is turned on again. Well, it's kind of true, but no, I just did that as a joke because it was just so ridiculous and silly that nobody in their right mind who knew what they were doing on a swimming pool would actually dump the debris from the skimmer back in the pool. It was just something I did purely as something hilarious and funny that some people actually think I did for real. They didn't understand that was a joke. That one went way over their heads. So Trish, appreciate it. Thanks for watching the videos. All right, next question comes from our community page on YouTube. If you haven't checked that out, it's sort of a quick place where we can post pictures and little short videos and stories where we can interact with you guys in between when we get videos up. But Jerry Hibbard, about a couple weeks ago, asked us, and this is kind of a professional question here, what should a new pool service tech in the business be looking for in working for a pool company? I work for a corporate pool company here in Texas. Well, You know, as far as wages and pay go, they're going to vary from place to place. In Texas, it may be a little different than it is in the Phoenix market or the New Jersey market or Wisconsin market. And of course, your seasons vary. I think in Texas, it's very similar to what we deal with in Phoenix, Southern California, Las Vegas, even parts of New Mexico, where it's typically a year-round deal. Some other things to consider is, are you going to be a subcontractor? Are you going to be 1099, or are you going to be an employee, a W-2? And will you get a truck? Where they're going to pay for fuel? If they're not paying for those things, how much are you going to get paid per pool, or are you going to be salary? The bottom line is, just like if you're applying for any job, you need to look at the big picture. What is your time off? Are there retirement benefits? How is this company doing? Are they growing and expanding? Are they sitting stagnant? What's the story behind that? Are you going to have a job in 6 months with this company, or are they going to be out of business? I would just consider all those things. Really do your homework, because keep in mind, anytime we're entering into any kind of business transaction, whether it's me meeting a new customer for the first time and us doing repairs or starting new pool service, or I'm looking for a job, this is a mutual agreement where it's not necessarily somebody plucking you and deciding if you're the best fit, but you also need to decide if a company is a good fit for you. Your long-term overall happiness and your goals should be considered in what you're looking for in a company. So hope that helps, Jerry. How about Eddie here? Is water hardness important? Well, yes, it is. In Arizona, we deal with very hard water. In other places, like Oklahoma and in the Midwest, they deal with very soft water. And this can have a pretty significant effect on how our pool is treated and how we need to watch for our water chemistry. There's something called water balance, or sometimes referred to as a saturation index. The saturation index is a measurement of water balance that involves a few parameters like temperature, alkalinity, pH, calcium hardness. Those are all factors in our water balance. So those kind of crunching those numbers through the standard, which is the Langley saturation index, can give us an idea. Even if we do have a few of those parameters slightly out of whack, it tells us whether our water is going to be scaling, meaning you're going to have start to get calcium lines on your tile. Your filter might start to get clogged up with calcification. Even your pipes can get clogged up with calcification, and it can cause the surface of your pool to get rough due to calcification or scaling of minerals onto the different surfaces. Conversely, with water that's very soft, very low on the saturation index, can be corrosive. You can actually have water where the pH is above pH neutral, above a 7.0 or above a 7.5 in a pool's case, and it can still be corrosive and damaging, where scaling, it's actually eating away the calcium in the plaster and in the grout joints and places like that. And this is from Chris out of Phoenix, Arizona. Every summer my pool seems to lose a lot of water to evaporation. And it will. You live in Phoenix, where the air is dry. We always have a slight breeze, and the air is definitely warm. I've seen some covers online that seem to be relatively inexpensive and light that supposedly help reduce this. Is there a cover you recommend that isn't too expensive? So Chris, you know, what we need to consider is where you are. There are places in the country where not a bad idea to keep the pool covered when you're not using it. In Phoenix, Southern California, in certain places, Las Vegas, these hot climates, Tucson, remember, our water temperatures are pushing up into the 90s on the hottest part of the summer in our pools without a cover. A cover is almost certainly going to raise those temperatures even higher. So what you then have to deal with is increased chemical loads due to those water temperatures going up and it being a little more friendly to algae. Now, of course, with the water covered, that's going to help keep the chlorine from gassing off. It's also going to reduce the light in the pool, which will help kind of counteract that extra warm water from the algae. But the bottom line is, how much fun is it going to be when it's 110 degrees out and you go to jump in your pool and your pool's 105 degrees? That's going to take a lot of the enjoyment of swimming out. At least it would for me. The other thing we got to consider is that your pool service, and Chris, your pool service is us. They've got to take that cover on and off, and they're going to charge you extra money for that extra time. The other thing is, people think they put a cover on the pool, and unless that cover drapes completely over the pool and partially onto the deck, it's very difficult to prevent the debris that collects on top of the cover from entering back into the pool when you're removing that cover, especially if it's one person doing it. And so all that debris that collects on that cover is eventually gonna have to be cleaned out of the pool anyway, and that makes it an even bigger problem. So in some cases, a cover is great. It can extend your swim season. Heck, we have one at my sister's house that we use to help extend the swim season, and we cover the pool with to keep it warm when we're heating it in the wintertime. But we only use it every once in a while, and we certainly wouldn't use it to prevent the water from evaporating, because it's just not worth the trouble. The extra, I don't know, $5, $6 in water that you're gonna save due to lack of evaporation, just a month isn't really worth the trouble that you gotta go through. Those of you watching, your situation may slightly be different, but I did want to give you guys some food for thought in thinking of whether a cover is right for you. All right, guys, before I go, I want to bake up these chocolate chip cookies for you. And for those of you that stuck it out to the end, I hope you will give this recipe a try. Before we bake these up, we're actually going to move this to the refrigerator. We're going to let this cookie dough sit refrigerated for about 12 to 24 hours before we even begin to bake it. So that allows the flavors to kind of set in now. And this is a double batch, so all the ingredients I've been posting, if they don't look right to what I've actually put in, it's because the ingredients I have posted were for a single batch. So if you guys are digging this, my wife's got a great bread recipe for sourdough, and let me know in the comments if you want me to post that, and I'll get that up online. And we'll post it here, and I'll just post it basically like an off-topic video, since this is a pool-centric channel, and you guys can have that bread recipe, which is pretty awesome. All right, guys, before we go, I want to address two more comments, and I want to get these cookies baked. So David Watkins on YouTube asks, and this is concerning our Pentair Superflow VS pump, on how to program and operate a Pentair Superflow VS pump. If it's connected to a Jandy Aqualink system, is it still pretty easy and straightforward to program? Well, David, unfortunately, there's some extra hardware you actually have to buy so that the pump will then have a translator to talk to the Jandy Aqualink system. It's always a good idea that if you are going with a specific automation system, whether it be Hayward, Jandy, or Pentair, or anybody else, I like to stick with the pump made by the same manufacturer, because you're gonna have really seamless communication. They're gonna be easy to connect. You're gonna have more features than if you try to connect a Hayward filter to or a Hayward pump to an Aqualink system, or a Pentair system to a Hayward ProLogic automation system. So in that case, I would tell you, man, spring for the Jandy pump. It's going to be a better option. You guys know me, I'm a huge Pentair guy, but in this case, I would go with Jandy. So I hope that kind of clarifies. When it comes to automation systems, I like to pair the pump with the automation system. It saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of energy, it saves a lot of money, and it opens up a lot more features that you otherwise wouldn't get by pairing it with a different pump. And overall, the system just works a heck of a lot better. All right, so our final comment of the night comes from Vince Oliver. Dumping chlorinated pool water into a customer's lawn, mixing chemicals without PPE. How are you considered a professional? I wouldn't let you onto my property, much less anywhere near my pool. So Vince, it's like this. You're right on the money with the PPE. There may be a day, someday down the road, when I get throat cancer or lung cancer, and I think to myself, Oh, I wish I would have took Vince's advice and more in personal protection equipment. But hey, my wife's using it all because she's taking care of COVID patients on the Navajo reservation as we speak. What I do for me, that's what I do for me, and that's my problem. I address it several times in the acid wash video about the importance of using protection and the dangers of acid fumes and how you should do as I say and not as I do. That's my problem and not yours. As far as mixing chemicals go, well, that goes to how I'm considered a professional. I took multiple chemistry classes in college and in high school, so I have a good general understanding. Plus, I've been in the pool business as long as I can remember. I have an understanding of which chlorines are safe to use and which are dangerous when they're mixed together, what happens when you put acids with different things. And I've been around the block and I've educated myself both on the internet and through professional classes. So that makes me probably better than you, Vince, when it comes to swimming pools. As far as dumping water onto the lawn, well, it's funny you should mention that because the water that comes out of your pool is nearly the same as what's in tap water. A few extra minerals, a part per million higher of chlorine, the pH being a little bit lower. Here in Arizona, the grass actually likes a lower pH because it's very alkaline in the soil. So, I don't know, if you're afraid to put it on your grass, why the hell would you go swimming in it? I could be wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. Maybe I should turn in my hat and quit the business, but that's the way I see it. I've got countless customers who would come to my defense and say, I'm doing a good job. Some of those customers have been with me well over 2 decades. So, that's how I'm a professional, is because I do a good job. I stand behind my work. And sometimes, I'm a book that shouldn't quite be judged by its cover, but more by its results. I hope that clears things up for you, Vince. And don't worry, I won't be setting foot on your property. I've learned to steer clear of customers like you for a long time. All right, guys, that is going to do it for us. I've got some cookies to eat. I want to thank you for watching. If you found this video informative and useful, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and please check out some of our other videos. We'll see you next time. Thank you guys again, and we really appreciate you pushing us past well over 10,000 subscribers. We can hope to continue to grow and get more stuff out there. So put something down in the comments, some videos you'd like to see, or maybe some further questions to spur some conversation to get some more answers on some of these things that we answered today. All right, guys, I'm Josh Small with Swimming Pool Science, and we'll see you next time.